From the person that we know that peaked in high school, to the empires that have risen to the top and then fell, to the hockey team I played for that only lost 2 games in the regular season, only to get knocked out in the first round when we reach playoffs. Human nature leads us to fall off, and history can give us an idea why. And if we look back in time far enough, we could see how often the future mirrors the past. Oh, and by the way, my name's Jamil. For more insights and ideas, click the first link in the description down below to sign up for my mailing list. From 1588 to 1795, before the US dollar was on top, the Netherlands were the reigning champs. Their currency, the Dutch guilder, was a cat's ass of money. A spice trader all the way in India would be willing to accept it for payment instead of their own native currency just because the guilder was so widely accepted and frequently used during this time period. Because of this, the Netherlands held the world reserve currency. If you're known as a country with the world reserve currency, everybody knows you're good for it. If the Dutch ever needed a country to lend them a couple $1 billion, they knew the Dutch would get them back. On top of that, since everybody wanted to save in the world reserve currency, if you're a little short, hey, you could print a little more. That was the privilege that the Dutch had back then. Thing is, even money isn't above the laws of supply and demand. And when the supply of the guilder exceeded the demand for it from excessive printing, it became worthless. And this wasn't an overnight thing, this was a very slow decline. Once the 1600s rolled around, the British noticed them start to slip up. Naturally, they ended up copying the methods and technology on how the Dutch built ships and whatnot. At the time, the British pound wasn't as widely accepted. They were able to hire less expensive ship workers than the Dutch. So the British would just hire Dutch designers and build better ships with less expensive British workers, which over time led to the British Empire to rise and the Dutch Empire to fall. I mean, in the Dutch's defense, after 200 years, there was an entire different type of generation on Earth. As people in the Netherlands got a little comfortable to a lifestyle of riches, over generations, the effort to maintain it slowed. Being so accustomed to the easy life doesn't come without being insanely vulnerable to any sort of challenge. You would think when the British took over and the Victorian era rose, they wouldn't fall into the same pattern that the Dutch did. But they did, because in 1944, after the Second World War, the US started to take over as the New World Order. And if we look around at the current state of the world now, it's only a matter of time till the West falls too. We're next. I'm Canadian, so I don't know what that means for me, but I'm probably fucked too. As people get used to doing well, they increasingly bet on the good times continuing, expecting that suddenly they can stop doing the very things that got them to that point without any repercussions. That's the mistake we collectively all make. I don't really think it's that the decline is inevitable. The tragedy started as the effort progressively decreased from pushing through the mistakes that we made along the way. Maybe history isn't there to teach us to avoid to make mistakes. There's thousands of years worth of mistakes that we've made and will continue to make. That's essential for our learning. History serves as a reminder of the consequences of our actions. We can use history to bring to life the amazing stories that help us examine how the past has shaped and continue to shape the global, national, and local relationship between societies and people. The hard part is being so overly confident that we feel no need to make any sort of effort anymore. History shows us the things we've done over time, so we're then equipped to do something different to get a different result. Taking the perspective and the experience of others and relating it to an experience we may have gone through ourselves to form what I call an incomplete experience. An incomplete experience is exactly how it sounds. It's an experience that has been experienced, just not by you. Your perception of what it's like to be in that spot is there, but still not totally complete because you've never gone through it. We can draw on a lot of incomplete experiences through quotes of others who have walked the path before us.
You got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lover. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. And don't settle. Which
is something Steve Jobs said. On the surface, easy to assume that somebody like Steve Jobs would say something like that. There's 50% chance that you're watching this video on the very device that he created of Steve Wozniak right now. But that's because we haven't experienced what it's like to get to where he has got to and take the path that he has taken through the lens that he sees the world. Once you understand you don't need to be rich to understand that there exists a certain point where some of us have reached, where without a good enough reason, whatever the fuck you gotta go through just isn't worth any amount of money from a job or business if it's something that you consistently dislike doing. Having a natural reason beyond money allows me to go through all the shit that I been through and continue to go through without stopping. The thing I'm pursuing can't be bought out. Money is useful. I'm not saying don't try and make it. Like, you gotta eat. I've just noticed in my own experience that there's no amount worth sacrificing building in line with my own vision. Even though the hours that I put in building that far surpasses any job that I've worked before in the past. Without having millions of dollars, I was able to have someone like Steve show me a piece of his history and relate that to the jobs and business ventures that I have pursued in the past that brought me money but not fulfillment, and having them suck. That's the thing of pulling in from experiences. You can use that experience and make predictions of what you think would happen if you were to go down that road. History is like a baton of mistakes being passed down, because the thing is, avoiding making mistakes just isn't helpful. Seeing others experience something in sort of like the same way that I did shortened my mindset of thinking I could just sit back and wait for something that happened and something just landed in my lap, and allow myself to focus my effort on gathering the most data-rich information you will come across in your entire lifetime. Mistakes and failure. Failure is a small price to pay for wisdom. And I know this is something totally easier said than done, all right? We hear advice from others all the time. My friends give me pretty solid advice a lot. Then I proceed to do the exact thing that they suggested I should do. It's so easy to get yourself locked in what I call an experience trap, which is basically like an infinite loop that sends you into a purgatory of using the same experiences and its perspectives over and over again as an avenue to get a different result. We gravitate towards a situation that seems familiar to us, and we think to ourselves, maybe if I do this time it would be different. I don't blame if you still go for it. I would too, while still looking at the situation the same way. In the same situation, there exists a different path that can allow you to get to the result you're looking for. Whatever situation you've thrown yourself in or currently in right now. We just have to remember that there's not a singular path available for us to take. Making the effort to change and improve requires fucking up. The thing is, you don't know what will happen because you can't see the future, and when you can't see the future, you can't make the right choice. So the question is, how do I choose if I can't make the right choice? But the thing is, wasted time is the price you need to pay to figuring it out. Like, how are you supposed to know at the beginning of life what you're supposed to do? Your parents, your peers, and everyone around you, they can have their theories, but realistically, no one knows what the best path for you would be to avoid regret. Figuring out what you want to do in life is exactly how it sounds. You gotta experience the things that you like and the things that you hate till you figure it out. And the amazing thing that history gives us is that the experimentation process doesn't only need to require your own experience. You can use the experience of others who have fallen a similar path before you, and maybe even avoid making the mistakes that they made. The fear of making a mistake is actually what leads to regret. The generations leading up to the changing world order over the past 1,000 years or so, who became so accustomed to a lifestyle of riches, feared the challenge of keeping it going, while another nation who put up the effort and faced the challenges reaped the rewards. I think we all know, relative to our situations, the sacrifice we need to make to get started on the thing that we need to do. It's just that constant nagging inside your head of that doubt that this is a sacrifice that you have to make for the rest of your life, when you don't have to sacrifice something for the rest of your life. For me to transition out of working a 9-to-5, I had to make the sacrifice of partying, going out and shit for about 1.5 years, just so I had enough energy to do the work necessary to make that happen. Because of that temporary sacrifice, I'm able to work towards the thing that I love to do for the rest of my life, and I'm able to have the option to go out party whenever I want now. We think we're locked into a career, we're locked into a habit. When it's not binary, you have the ability to change if we're willing to make the temporary sacrifice and put up the effort in exchange. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you sign up for my mailing list in the first link in the description down below, because I got some other stuff for you guys too down there, alright? But yeah, I'll see you soon. I don't know how to end these. Alright, yeah, see you.